Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Today I am going to go out and go in search of materials for my dioramas. See, a lot of folks will go out to the hobby store, which, I think we ought to support hobby stores. However, as you know, I'm a tightwad, and I want to show you techniques of things that I do the way I do them, and hence what I do is I get a lot of, I call them recycled products. Things like dirt out of the backyard, or styrofoam from dumpsters, but from more specifically, styrofoam comes in a lot of packaging material, and sometimes around furniture supply stores, things like that, you will find perfectly good packaging materials that can be used in dioramas. So let's go out and see what we can find, and I'll kind of show you some of the materials that I use in making dioramas. Let's go.
So we're going to head out on the highway. We don't really want the residential area because the street sweeper comes along a lot more often there. I didn't really want anything that was pavement. I'm really looking for a concrete base, and so here on this main road there's some too many trees around, but here is the perfect spot. Hardly any trees. Look at this. Look at that grid. Isn't that awesome? This is exactly what I'm looking for. So this is grit off of a concrete road, and man, you can see the street sweeper hasn't been here for quite a while. There's a little bit of leaf in it, but that's fine. It'll be okay. We are going to take a big old scoop of this stuff, and you won't believe what we get out of here. So here I'm going to take a great big scoop of this stuff. It is a little bit clumpy. It's always nice to do this when the weather's dry and there's not a lot of, there hasn't been a recent storm or anything like that. It kind of gets muddy. Anyway, so we get some nice fine dusty stuff and some thicker stuff as well. And let's take it home and see what we've got.
Alright, so now we've got our big dustpan full of dirt. We've got it home. And you can see there's a lot of leaves and clumps and all kinds of stuff. But I really wanted this particular pile because it came from a concrete road. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. I've got an old box from 35th scale tank of some sort. And this... I know this thing looks terrible, but really this used to be on one of the windows in my house, and the dog or cat or whatever it was, it kind of chewed a hole through it, so it's no good anymore. It's kind of bent up, so I rescued it for my purposes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right over the top of the box, and then we are going to take our pile of dirt, our recycled dirt, and we're going to put it right here. And then I'm going to start to sift it. Just move it around. I got to watch out for that hole because I don't want all this big stuff going through there. Hey, look, there's a cigarette butt. Ooh, how gross. Yeah, you get all kinds of weird stuff in this road grit. But when I'm all done, I think you're going to like the results. So we are to this point where we've got most of it sifted. The one part I forgot to mention, always wear a rubber glove, some kind of glove, because you never know what might be in this pile of that you don't want to get stuck with, or whatever. So okay, we've kind of moved it around, and there's a lot of leaves, there's a lot of fine rocks, and then there's some a little bit bigger ones here. Wow, that was actually on the road. We're going to set that aside and show you. Here's the product we've got so far, and you can see there's actually some like blades of grass or straw or something in there, so we're probably going to have to sift this again through another layer, but that's okay. Kind of reminds me of large railroad ballast. This would probably be really good for O-scale railroad ballast, but we're going to sift this one more time through another screen. So I've taken my road grit that I sifted, and I've put it in this old coffee can. I've got lots of them because I drink a lot of coffee. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift it one more time. There's different ways to do this, different screens you can use, different, finer screens you can use, but here's how I do it. I have taken an aerator. I wonder if I've got one just sitting around here I can show you better. But on the inside of like a sink aerator, there are these little round screens. They're awesome. And no, I don't see my other aerators around here. Anyway, you just got to believe me, folks. This comes out of your kitchen sink aerator. And what I've done is I took that and I got the lid to a little Tester's paint bottle that was empty. I poked some holes in the lid, and then I super glued or epoxied, whatever you want to do, the aerator screen on top to make, and you could use a salt and pepper shaker, whatever you want, but I like how fine this particular screen is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my little bottle into my grit, put the lid on. Now I'm going to get a container, and I'm going to use this little colored container that I have, and just like you would with salt, I'm just going to shake it on in there. I kind of have to keep turning it, because what's going to happen is the thicker grit is going to stay in that bottle, and the finer grit, well, it's going to go into my little container here. So I continue to do this until I get no more powder. Oops, I'm getting lots of powder there. Okay, looks like I'm about done with that. Here is the grit that I have. And this is a really fine, you think like sand, but first of all, sand's probably a different color, and this has got multicolors in it. But I really like this consistency for some of the things I'm going to do. And then what I will do is I will take the leftover here and I will put this in another container. Well, so here we go. And this is the fine product. This is what was left over in the bottle here, and you can see the difference there. And then on my big screen, I kind of sifted through, and I was able to scoop up some of this kind of a more, it's a little bit larger, but kind of a medium-sized rock. And then of course, this was in there as well. Look at those. I don't even have to wash those up. Those look great. I got scrapes and all sorts of things. Those will make great, a little bit larger rocks on my diorama. So there you go, folks. Very quick, easy, simple way to get your own ground material.
So here we go. I've got about a half of a coffee can left of this, just with the first sift. And you can see there's all sorts of different sizes in there. So I got enough of this stuff. It's going to last me for quite some time. And as you saw, I just put it into a container, and I've got that for later. Now, I have used straight from the backyard. Again, sifted some of the stuff from my garden and put that on some of my dioramas. This particular one of a B24 that I did years ago, and you can see some of the rocks on there as well. Came right from the garden. So this is my Utah colored dirt. Imagine, what is this? This is kind of interesting. Actually, this is sawdust. And I won't tell you how to get sawdust. I won't show you how to get sawdust. You just, you cut up some 2x4s, you sweep that up into a pile. But what I did is I painted this base in kind of a tan color, a cream color, and I put this right on top, and the sawdust makes it look like a great desert scape. Now here is a very rare material. This is actually sand from Iwo Jima. Ooh, what I call sacred sand. Now, of course, I would never use this as a diorama base. To me, it's just far too sacred. So I put it in a little bottle, and I replicated the black sand by getting some ballast cinders from Woodland Scenics, and I used that. So that's a ground working material that I have worked with before. And the other sand that's in the back is actually sand from Utah Beach in France. So speaking of sand, and Utah sand in particular, in southern Utah we've got this beautiful red rock and red dirt, red soil. So whenever I go down there, I'll pick up some red dirt or some red sand, depending on what I'm in the mood for at the time. And I have a couple of containers full of this beautiful red sand, and it works great on some of my other dioramas that I have done. Another material that I have used that's really cheap is baking soda. Whatever brand it is you want to get, usually it's like 90 cents for a little box, and some people say that it yellows over time, but I haven't had that issue. I have used it a couple of times on groundwork to do some winter scenes. This particular diorama has some of my backyard dirt, and I also have some baking soda on it, just kind of in patches to give this a nice winter scene. So thank you for joining us, and we'll have some more tips and tricks and some techniques and groundwork coming soon.